I always say that I hate that a lot of current entrepreneurs on social media make it seem easy and fun 100% of the time. And I think it's honestly really unfair to those who are interested in going into entrepreneurship because they're going with a false preset.
Oh, entrepreneurs only show the glitz and the glamour, but they don't show like the bottom out. I'm like, who is turning the camera on when they
crying?
An upstart Atlanta company sells clothing marked with this phrase, support black colleges.
With various celebrities spotted rocking the brand.
I didn't know it was going to be a business. It was kind of like just something fun that we were doing, and then it just kind of took the legs of its own.
I quit support black colleges every month. I always tell people I could easily go and get hired as a marketing manager somewhere and make six figures easily, but I just don't like answering to people.
If you lost it all today, what would the 2 to 3 things that you would immediately do to get it back? Today I'm joined by Corey Arvinger, CEO of Support Black Colleges. This episode we talked about not only his journey from throwing parties in college to building a wildly successful e-commerce brand to his support and legacy and commitment to HBCUs. He also talked about his ideas and philosophies around failing and failing every single day as part of the entrepreneurial process. And then more than anything, legacy from his family and what he's building and building something much bigger than himself. Thank you so much for joining us, Corey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start from the beginning, right?
Let's do it.
Tell me the journey leading up to you starting your company. Like, were there any other entrepreneurial endeavors? Were you the kid that sold the news? Like, tell me a little bit more about how you started the company.
Yeah, I was definitely the kid that sold everything before college. Mm-hmm. For me, I've always been an entrepreneur, but didn't really know that it was called entrepreneurship. I was just hustling. So, in middle school, we used to sell ices. You freeze the Kool-Aid in the styrofoam cups, sell them for 25 cents during the summer. Uh-huh. I sold those until I can remember. High school, Michelle Obama was doing a program where she cleared out all the unhealthy snacks. And so we basically had empty vending machines. And I used to go to Costco or Walmart and get a bunch of oatmeal cream pies and cinnamon twists and all of that. And I used to sell it before every class. In high school. So I've always kind of been a hustler, and I always wanted to make money. And when I first got to college, I never wanted to ask my mom for money. And so I started throwing parties. Mm-hmm. So it turned into now I'm throwing parties and making money every week. So I've been an entrepreneur all my life, but I just never knew the correct terminology for it. I went to business school because I thought I wanted to own and operate a business. And so that's kind of how my entrepreneurship journey started, was way before it was support black colleges and this big thing. Okay.
You sound like me back in the day. I was a C student. I couldn't spell entrepreneur, but I was doing all the things and selling stuff.
100%.
Okay. So you were throwing parties in college. At what point did you start or come up with the idea to throw parties and realize that it was something that would be profitable for you?
So honestly, a guy reached out to me before I even got to school. It was Facebook group started. And so he was reaching out to all the students that were coming in that he thought would be cool. And so I was one of those people, as well as a bunch of other random people, guys and girls. And so during my actual freshman week on campus, I was actually throwing some of the parties that were supposed to be for us as freshmen. And so the guy's name was David Castaigne, and he used to put us on to all the different events. And so we would sell tickets generally $20, and we make $5 each from them. And so I was kind of man, I can sell a lot of tickets because I knew everybody, and I was a very social person. Mm-hmm. And so I was making, $800, $900, $1,000 a week on parties. And I was yeah, this is what I like. I like the easy money that is legal, and I get to meet people. And so I knew very early on that was something I was going to do all throughout college.
All right. And so you threw parties for all 4 years. Mm-hmm. When did you start My Black Colleges?
Yeah. So I started it technically my sophomore year, and it wasn't even a start. I wasn't trying to create a clothing company. I just was trying to make a shirt for homecoming because I wanted something different. Everybody shopping at the bookstore, online, everybody has the same Howard merch. For me, I wanted to do something that nobody else had. And so basically, me and my cousin designed a shirt, and it just literally it was literally this logo. Mm-hmm. And it was just on a white t-shirt, and it was a faded logo. And that was the shirt. And so when I was wearing it, everybody's like, oh, where'd you get that from? Where'd you get that from? And me naturally being an entrepreneur, I'm like, oh, I make them. You want one? Uh-huh. And I kind of started taking orders by getting their emails and their names and their numbers. And then that's kind of how the company was birthed. But it wasn't an official thing. It was oh, I'm just going to do this on the side. find a local printer, get it printed, and sell them like that.
When did you know that it was gonna move from like a side hustle, side business to something much more like long term for you?
So everything I've done that I touch in entrepreneurship always does pretty well. So it was kind of hard for me to tell if this was just like another good business venture or if it was like the thing that was going to change my life essentially. And so I actually didn't realize that until much later. Like even when I was doing it in 2012, I was like at North Carolina A&T, we're at Winston-Salem State, we're at FAMU, Clark, Spelman Morehouse, and I'm doing like pop-ups here and there, and they're selling out. But it was still just like, let me just make some money during homecoming time. I was really just trying to pay for me to go to the homecoming and have enough money to spend on Airbnb and, staying there. But I wasn't looking at it as like a valuable business. And so I think that later on in life, around 2018, when I brought it back, that's when I really, really realized this is something that the people needed. Mm-hmm.
Did you continue to throw the parties and then also build this brand at the same time? Or did the parties end and then you started taking this business serious?
The parties never ended.
Are they still going on?
The party just recently ended. I don't throw parties anymore. That's most people who know me now don't even know I threw parties. Okay. But it was simultaneous. I was a sophomore in college, so that was going to keep happening. And then the business was kind of just like on and off. We were doing like the school fashion shows and stuff like that. So it always kept it going, but it was just like a hobby. And so just like a lot of other things, I was doing multiple things at school at one time. I was the president of School of Business. I was president of North Carolina Club. I started an organization on campus, but I was also working, throwing parties and doing the clothing brand. So it was kind of just like, where can I get my money from? And I wasn't thinking about it really, really long term.
Yeah. The Corey back in high school selling candy and all the things, would he be proud of the Corey right now? Or he'd be like, you gotta hustle a little bit harder?
I think he'd be pretty proud. I mean, I think for me, I've always kind of lived in the current moment and state I'm in, and I've embraced that at a high level. But I think he'd be proud because I'm still just doing what I want to do. And that's honestly all I care about is like, what do I actually want to do? What makes me happy? And I'm going to do that, whether it's less money or whether it's less time. It's all about like what's genuinely making me happy. And that's who I've been since high school, since I can remember.
I want to dig into kind of like the branding because I've seen your stuff everywhere on social. So there's a domination that you have done around that, right? And a mastery around that. But you said something about like doing things that make you happy. 100%. And I think that gets thrown around a lot around entrepreneurship and passion. But running a business is not always happy times, right?
At all.
Can you talk just a little bit about like the juggle between the two and with some personal experience around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think people, and I always say this to people who are looking to become entrepreneurs from their job or just in general, I always say that I hate that a lot of current entrepreneurs on social media make it seem easy and fun 100% of the time. And I think it's honestly really unfair to those who are interested in going into entrepreneurship because they're going with the false preset. Yeah. And so for me on social, I try to be as transparent as possible. Like, I'm struggling. Like, this is really actually tough. I'm in a down season. I always talk about those things because I want somebody to say, okay, this is what it's like. Can I get through this? Yeah. And so, for me personally, I mean, we had a time where right before Black Friday, we lost $40,000 in merchandise because our warehouse flooded. Or we had like 30 staff, but like 6 of them actually working. And it was hard to tell who was doing what. And so we were losing money. Or we had like chargebacks or this and this. It's like so many different things that you go through as an entrepreneur that people don't show. But then on the other side, it's like, well, we did NBA All-Star. I've always wanted to go to NBA All-Star. It was like on my vision board when I was younger. And now I'm like partnering with the NBA, or we're like in Urban Outfitters across the country. So there's like ebbs and flows of business, but I understand that, whenever you're down, you have to go back up. Like I can't go down any further. And then even when I'm up, I'm like, all right, cool. Let me even keel because you just never know what can happen. So, for me, the times that are high make it the most worth it, and then the times are low, I want to get back to the high. Nice.
I find it really interesting when people are just like, "Oh, entrepreneurs only show the glitz and the glamour, but they don't show like the bottom out." And I'm like, who is turning the camera on when they like, when they crying? Let me turn this camera on real quick, right? Because then the other side of it is just like, you're not authentic and blah blah blah. But I'm like, your investor just said like, to hell with you. Okay, let me turn the camera on for this. Like, So how do you, because I think you're such a great storyteller on social and you are really transparent, but like there is a delicate balance to that as well, because sometimes those conversations are private. Sometimes you just in the thick of it and there's 100%. No way to even make sense of that. But I think you've been very transparent about the process. And so what is that balance like for you, or that storytelling content creation like for you?
I think for me, it's just being my true authentic self, like who I am in general. So if I'm like having a rough day, or I don't want to do something, or it's just not feeling right, I just try to express my my emotions through social. And so, you know, I posted something the other day, I think on Sunday. I was sitting in my car about to go to church, and like a random video had came to my mind where I was like calling God, and the phone was just ringing, and I was like, I'm calling God to basically ask to make sure that I'm not on his like toughest warriors list for 2024, because I was on your strongest warriors list for 2023, and I can't do that again. And so those videos always do really well because there are people who are feeling that same way. And so I just like to be the voice for people who feel a certain way but are too afraid to say it on social. If I can say it as somebody with a multi-million-dollar business and all the success and all the things that people think that you have as an entrepreneur, and I can be vulnerable and open, I think that it does justice to somebody else. And, you know, a lot of times we talk about in church or with my mentors and stuff, we talk about like how you not using your gift or doing what you're supposed to do, the purpose, the gift that God gave you, is actually doing a disservice for somebody else who needs you in order for them to complete what they have to do. And so I try to like be that voice and that person that tells it, and it just comes naturally because it's what I'm supposed to be doing.
I have a question around like, how did the pandemic fare with your business, right? Because people talk about, and all the stats of, you know, I think it was like 60% or 40% of Black businesses closed during the pandemic and will not reopen. And that's one side of the story. And we always get the downtrodden stories, because what no one talks about is 60% of Black businesses survive during what is arguably one of the worst economic downturns for our businesses and in our generation, right? You were the 60% of businesses that survive. How did you survive? How did you fare through those two years or so?
Yeah, I would actually say we didn't just survive, we thrived. Like we had our most profitable years during the pandemic. And initially I remember talking to my team and I'm like, guys, like, I don't know what's about to happen. Like no one knew. And so I was like, you know, we're selling clothes. No one needs clothes. Like honestly, no one needs these clothes.
No, they needed that for the Zoom.
So,
they needed
like, it's crazy. People was really pressing us for some orders. And I'm like, bro, all my staff is sick with COVID. But you know, nobody cared, obviously. But, you know, for us, the thing that happened, it was like an unfortunate event that happened that was very fortunate for us. So when George Floyd was killed, everybody was like, we're supporting Black everything, which is so unfortunate because it shouldn't have taken that to do that. But that happened. And then the domino effect was, well, we got a lot of support. So the day that George Floyd was killed, we had a meeting with our staff. And we're like, yo, we need to do something to support this cause. Like, how do we lean into what they have going on and support? And so we made a shirt that says support Black lives. We dropped it the next day. It was just a mock-up. It was just on a T-shirt. It was a brown and tan colorway. And on the back, it was a Desmond Tutu quote about injustice and, you know, who to support during injustice. And that shirt did $100,000 in one day. Nice. And I was like, that's crazy. Like a time where people like had no money or were like, you know, not buying things or didn't need to, people bought. And so what I realized was that support Black colleges is not just about clothing and a shirt. It's about the messaging. It's about who we're supporting. So we did a support Black women shirt, and we do like support Black this, support Black this, support Black this. And we realized that there's a much bigger community even within our own brand, which helped us to continue to grow throughout. And it's so crazy because everybody's like saying these businesses closed during the pandemic. To me, being a business owner right now is even tougher than there because PPP money done washed up. Everybody not living rent free anymore. So all that money that they were sitting on is all gone. And so now you have to be better at marketing, better at product, better at delivering services, getting influencers. To me, it's much harder now than it was 2-3 years ago.
It's very much survival of the fittest now.
Oh, most definitely. And this
is Hunger Games,
if you can survive this, then this is the real challenge, honestly.
You said something just a little bit earlier about not only did you guys survive during the pandemic, you thrived. Did you ever feel weird or uneasy that you couldn't talk about thriving during the pandemic when so much of the conversation, because like my dad has owned a construction company for 30 years. He's like, they've had record profits
Wow.
during the pandemic, right? And a lot of friends that I've had have been saying that, like, the pandemic was actually financially really good for their business, but they felt like they could never say that publicly.
Wow.
One, for being seeming insensitive, but then two, it's just like, how do you be like, man, the world's falling apart, but I'm doing good? Did you ever have, you get what I'm saying? Did you ever feel that in any of the conversations that you were having, or
No. Because I talk about when I'm down too.
Okay.
So like, I think it's all a part of the process. If I only spoke when I was doing well, then I would be like, it's kind of like, I don't want to say anything. But I talked about when we didn't think we were going to make any sales. Right before the pandemic, when we had that $40,000 loss in merchandise, I talked about that too. So now that we up, I want to talk about it because it's going to motivate somebody who's trying to get to where we're at. Like, it's a part of my purpose. And so, I never feel weird about talking about money. And plus, like, out of my circle of friends, my entrepreneurs in Atlanta, they were making way more money than me. So I was just like a little fish in my pond, right? And so I'm just trying to help like the average entrepreneur, the average 9-to-5 person that has a side hustle. Like, that's my audience 100%. So I felt great about it. And it was never in like a braggy format. It's like, listen, y'all, this is what we did. Here's the steps. I give you tools. I give you resources. This is how we made this. And this is the steps that I took. And this is what my team did. And this is what I did on social. It was never like, look at my Shopify, go buy my book. Like, it was like, nah, this is what you can do. Here's free information. So that's why I didn't really feel bad about it, because I felt like, people need to know what's going on. Everybody's not losing, and you don't have to lose either.
Yeah, I always tell people the recession's not happening to everybody.
100%.
Which is helpful when you're trying to sell the thing and you're thinking about other people's pockets. And then on the other side of that is like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you as a business. You've mentioned that there was a moment where y'all lost $40,000 in one day.
Overtime. But we've lost way more than that.
Okay, so you lost way more than that.
That's a little money.
There are times where it stings, and there's times when that punches you in the gut. What did you say to yourself the next day to like get out of bed and go back into working on your business? Or did you sit in the bed and kind of sit in it for a while?
I quit Support Black Colleges every month. I always quit. I quit this job every month, right? Like, I always tell people I could easily go and get hired as a marketing manager somewhere and make 6 figures easily. I've had companies offer me jobs, but I just don't like answering to people. I just am very hard-headed and stubborn. I do not like you saying I have to be on a Zoom at this time. I just cannot stand it. I don't know why. That's why I stopped working for Tyler Perry. Like, it was a great job. I worked from home. I came in once a week.
And you hated do that. Yeah.
I didn't hate it all the time, but I hated it at the end of it. But I mean, it's about, like, for me, it's about legacy. And so what can I leave to my family and the next generation behind me? How can I change the trajectory of where my family was going? I'm the first entrepreneur in my family at a high level. My grandpa used to be a photographer, had a studio like back in the day. Mom's a teacher, sister's an actress, grandma's been retired for seems like forever. But I'm the first entrepreneur and to do it at a high level. And so for me, it's not even about the money, because if it was about the money, I would have been quit a long time ago. For me, it's about the impact and what we're doing for HBCUs. It's about that person that sees me in the airport and is like, oh my God, like my son went to HBCU because he bought this, or we saw you on NBA 2K and my kids are wearing it, or like, that's what it's about for me. And so, it's my why. And we always talk about that. A lot of people's why is not strong enough to get them through the low times. And mine is. My mom, my grandma, my sister, they all live with me under my roof in Atlanta. Every day I look at them and like, all right, let me get to it. When I leave the house every day at 9 a.m. And my sister's like, why you get up every day like you going like a job? Like, this is my job.
Right.
I leave at 9, I get off at 5, I come home, rest, and then I do some more work until I go to sleep. That's every single day. Saturdays and Sundays the same. And people are like, you work on Sundays? Yeah. People are spending money on Sundays. Like, why are you sleeping? I'm going to be working because I'm trying to get to that bag. And so for me, it's like the why, the legacy is all about like why I do what I do. And I think the impact is bigger than me. This is not about me at all. Like, for years, people didn't even know I ran Support Black Colleges. They only found out because Clubhouse came out and we had like, you had to talk literally. And everybody's like, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And that's how people started finding out that I ran it. But before that, nobody knew.
So is freedom infinitely more valuable to you than money, or?
Yeah, freedom of time is way more valuable to me because I just want to do what I want to do. It's just that simple. And I think that it comes from and stems from seeing my mom work multiple jobs all her life. And so just seeing like, we couldn't do what we wanted. We couldn't go to Myrtle Beach for the weekend, or we couldn't do this because she had to work. I never liked that feeling. So I always wanted to work to help alleviate some of the stress that she had because of like bills and finances. So yeah, time freedom is important. Obviously you have to make some money, but yeah, definitely time freedom.
Are you building a high growth business in tech, healthcare, AI, media entertainment, or consumer goods and services? If so, we'd like to help you scale. Apply for a chance to win capital, coaching, and access to an amazing community of diverse innovators. Applications for the 4th annual Black Ambition Prize competition are now open. Don't miss your chance to win $1 million. Apply today at blackambitionprize.com. When's the last vacation you've taken? Or are you one of those people who are like, sleep when I'm dead? Like, do you take breaks? Do you rest? Do you recharge?
I never really take breaks, but I do go on vacation. I'm trying to think. When was the last vacation I had? I haven't been on vacation in a while, but it's not that like I don't, because I do rest and I take time for myself. But it's just always things to be done. And as a CEO, you're a practitioner in your business still. That's why I want to fire myself as a CEO and then rehire myself as a CMO and have somebody else run the company. But in the current season that I'm in, I am the person that does the most work. And so I can have a rest day, but still do some work because also what I do is enjoyable. Yeah. So like designing is fun to me. Marketing is fun to me. Like looking at trends on social is fun. So it doesn't feel like work even when I'm technically working. But yeah, I haven't taken a vacation in a while, but I utilize like what I already have to do to like make it vacation. So like I'm in Miami, might as well do something, right? Like this could be considered a vacation for me, even though I'm gonna work every day I'm here.
You still working? What you talking about? Just
yeah, I was working earlier. Like I've been working since I got here.
Yeah.
But it's just all a part of it too. When you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. So it's kind of like a balance of it.
What would you say is your zone of genius within what you do at your company?
Marketing. It's nobody better.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to social media marketing.
Did you get your chops in marketing, promoting parties? Did it really come to you in the e-commerce side? Like when did it It's
a good question. Nobody ever asked me that question.
See, we here. I'm gonna pull some questions. I was just like, thank you for the challenge. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you know what's crazy? So I've always been really good at connecting with people. I can meet somebody today and they feel like my best friend by the time we leave. That's like a skill that I didn't know was a skill until people were like, well, you're really good at like meeting people. I can find commonalities with me and somebody and I can just make it make sense. And so I think I've been able to transfer those in-person skills to online. And it's also a lot of testing. It comes from just doing. So I've been posting 4 times a day for the last 3 years, 7 days a week. 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m., 9 p.m. every single day on Support Black Colleges. And on my own personal page, I post once a day. You understand and start to learn social when you post enough. And so when I like teach my students, they're like, I posted or had a release and it didn't do well. Well, I say, how many times did you post? I posted once this week. Well, that's why. You have one post that 10% of your audience saw and you're wondering why you don't have results. Well, you're not posting enough. And so for me, you know, I think that those skills just come from action taking and doing, but then also getting feedback from the customer, clients, followers, and then utilizing that feedback to try new things. And so I do this like series on my social media where I have like fake DJ. Like I didn't like, that wasn't a thing that I like necessarily wanted to do, but the people said they love it and I kept doing it because it was getting me more eyes, and what gives me more eyes can give me more money. And so I just like take what I have and what I see and I utilize it for whatever I'm trying to do, whether it's just build community, whether it's make sales, whether it's just get to know, like, and know, trust, and like me. So,
So you have worked with a lot of celebrities within, whether brand partnerships,
a lot of different things.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more about that, because a lot of people get wowed by the celebrity factor, right? Do you think even in this day and age where there's almost kind of like a democratization around like access to people, is it still important to work with a celebrity, or it's not what people make it? I got my own personal stories around that, but like, is it still what people should hold in high value in growing their brand?
I think is one of many things. I didn't just like grow from just influencers and just celebrities. I grew from this plus this plus this equals this. So a lot of people were just like, how do you get Tiana Taylor, Chris Paul, this person? They're always asking that. And I'm like, what is your foundation look like for your business? Are you even ready to have an influencer like that? Because if like Beyonce posts your stuff and you don't have enough inventory or don't have the proper system, it's going to fail. And so, I mean, I think there's a value to it, but for me, it's just a part of the equation. It's not one specific part. And all the influencers and celebrities that I work with are like, I have personal relationships with because I know how to connect with people. Yeah. So when I meet Michael B. Jordan, I know that his brother went to Howard, and I know that his brother's also part of the LGBTQ community. I know these things because I do my research. So by the time we have a conversation, it's like, you feel like you know me and you want to support just off the strength of I came correct. Yeah. You know, I'm not like, oh, let me take a picture. I'm like, how can we do business? How can we make some money? Like, I know the causes you support. How do I support those so that we can simultaneously get this happening? And so I just think it's a part of the equation, but people put too much value into it. Yeah. And then also people use the wrong influencers for the right thing. And so like, I'm not using Martha Stewart for my brand because it doesn't make sense. But I would
She does like to smoke weed with Snoop,
she does.
You know.
But you know, it's kind of like not HBCU, you know. Not to say that it don't, but you know but like somebody like Meg Thee Stallion is like perfect because she went to Texas Southern. Right? Chris Paul was perfect because he was going back to school to Winston-Salem State. His parents went to HBC. Like those are the things that I know. So it's the right influencer for me at the right time with the right company.
You keep telling us about how you're a great connector. Can you break down either your research process? Because you're like, I know enough about the person so that I'm actually genuinely interested in them, right? Yeah. But there's a process to that may come easy to you, but I think could be helpful to other people because it sounds like you're a power connector, right? What does that process actually look like?
So maybe give me an example of somebody and I can tell you how I would do it.
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell. Okay. So what I would do is like generally I just like look at their Wikipedia page and figure out like where they're from, like, you know, age, where they live, like those kind of things. I figure out what they value. So a lot of times like it'll be like Corey's aunt passed away from pancreatic cancer. So like if somebody came to me talking about pancreatic cancer, I'm listening instantly because that's a true story, right? So, you know, whatever Pharrell had happened in his life, right? Like, or like he's into fashion, right? So I might do like I have this thing called the what if method that really works really well. And I say, what if Support Black Colleges partner with this company? What would it look like? And I would take how that person designs and I would just incorporate my designs into what they already designed. So to say, what if Louis Vuitton and Support Black Colleges work together? What would it look like? Well, it might be this hoodie with like Louis Vuitton print in the background of this and whatever it might be, right? And I would present it to Pharrell if I seen him and I would say, look, I know you're doing this. Here's what I have going on. I know that you love HBCUs because your cousin, you know, or your whatever, or your foundation is doing this. Yeah. Like, and then it's interesting. Then he's not going to make an decision right there because that's not what he would do. He would put me in the position with the right person, and that's where I really built the relationship. And one key factor for me is it's never about the direct person you're trying to get in contact with. Is that next person. Yeah. So like when I got really cool with Chris Paul, like we had a conversation, we dapped it up, we smiled, take the picture. But Carmen, who's his manager, is the most important person to talk to. She's going to know his stylist. She's going to know this person, this person, this person. Anybody that I've ever like really grown and been able to work with, their managers, their assistants, their stylists are my best friends. Yeah. B. Simone, Pretty V, Eva, Giannis, Zion, like anybody. It's like always that person. D. Wade stylist, James Harden stylist. Those are people who have my phone. I don't even talk to half of the celebrities. Like if we see you, it's cool, but you're not going to really push the needle because you're not going to do it, right? So I think that's really a really important like message. Like my first influencer I ever got was Tiana Taylor. I talk about this story all the time. I waited for her outside of her VIP section at the Howard Theater for like 4 hours straight. I used to throw parties. I was able to get into the club for free and bring my book bag, and I had a bunch of merch. And this lady was talking to me from inside the barricade, and it turned out to be her mom, but I didn't know that. Her mom and her manager, not just her mom and her manager. And we were talking. She's from Jersey. I'm making jokes, and we talking about all of that because my mom's from Jersey. And eventually she let me in. We talked. By the end of the party, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm her mom and I'm her manager." And I'm like, "Oh snap!" And like that moment, I knew that like, what if I was only focused on Tiana?
Right.
Like, what if I was like, "Oh sorry, ma'am,"
Dismissive,
don't. I'm trying to get to Tiana. You talking to me? But I didn't do that, and it allowed me unlimited access. And now to where I can call T like, "Yo, da 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 da." So I think that's extremely important and a very important. Like I've seen people dismiss my sister, like when we're out in public, and then they try to talk to me, and I'm like, this is my right hand. This is the person who runs our company. You're crazy. You're never going to get to me. So that's a really key important hack.
No, that's a major key, right? Because I think, and I tell even the entrepreneurs in our program all the time, don't ever dismiss the number 2 or the number 3 or like anybody, because you never know, right? And oftentimes they have the most influence or they are the gatekeepers, right? And people never, what does the saying go? They never remember what you say or did. They always remember how you made them feel. And so like, that's dope because I think sometimes people aren't that transparent. We're like, well, this is my process, right? And I also value people on a human level and not just because they have whatever. And so that's a very unique and rare characteristic that I'm glad that we had that conversation and know that about you. I have another question for you. And so if you lost it all today, not throwing that, not wishing that on you, none of that, but if you lost it all today, what would the 2 to 3 things that you would immediately do to get it back?
So it's actually interesting because I'm in a phase right now where I think I'm like starting over already. Like I feel like that. Now I'm not technically starting over. I have data, I have sales, I have customers, but a lot of people don't know in April I shut down my site of this year. So I've been shut down since April. May, June, July, August, September, October, we received 0 sales. We're not open. And I did that because we were growing so fast, I couldn't keep up with demand. So I had to shut it down because people weren't getting their stuff in a timely manner that I would want them to get it in, which is really 2 to 3 days. But our shipping time is 2 to 4 weeks. So I shut it down because I need to reset our processes and infrastructure. So that's what I would do. I would first set up infrastructure and processes to make sure that no matter how big or small we could manage, I would also focus on building community and grassroots marketing, showing up to events like Essence Fest, Homecomings, like the things where your audience is. I'm partnering that with building community online. So the people you can't see in person, you get online, right? And a lot of people, I just talked about running ads, and a lot of people just throw money towards that ads, which is the worst thing you could do. You have to prove that the content works first. Then you run ads to the good, already proven content. People sometimes just run ads to something that they're trying that never works. Run it to something that's proven to work without it. And so systems, infrastructure, build community in person and online. And then what I would do is I would just get the right team. Like having the right team is so important. You could have a great product, amazing influence, all this stuff, but with the wrong team, things will not get accomplished at a high level.
What have you gotten right about building a team, and what have you gotten wrong, like really wrong?
Ooh, that's a good question. What have I gotten right? I choose good people. Like,
but how?
I'm a people person. This is what I do. And so like everyone that's ever worked for me is like still my friend, even if they don't work for me anymore, which could be a good or bad thing. Like I was that manager / boss that like, we playing basketball after work. And like, if you came in late, I'm like, bro, just don't do it again. My sister like, nah, that's a strike, which is, I needed that because I was like almost too lax. So I did get that wrong. But like the type of people that I wanted were people like me. Like I wasn't a straight A student, but I was a student that you wanted, like, because it's not about the books and studying for me. It's about the overall person. So I could see through the immediate faults. Oh, he doesn't speak well, or he's late sometimes. But like, if he's late, he always is willing to stay after. Like that's what I care about, right? So I'm really good at choosing the type of people. I think I manage people wrong, but I was good at choosing the people and then let my sister manage those people. But sometimes what I saw, she didn't see, so it kind of didn't correlate. But I think I got that right. I worked for AT&T for years, and so I think the way they hire and fire in their point system is something I took and implemented in my business, which was really powerful and helpful. So yeah, I think those are some of the things that I kind of like did well and also not so good.
All right. What would be one key, like top level thing that you said that you felt that you learned from working for Tyler Perry?
Wow, so many things. The top thing, have a vision and see it through. He's a visionary. Like, you don't get to where you get by not having vision. And some of the things we would talk about in our meetings, I'm like, what? Like when we were talking about the grand opening of Tyler Perry Studios, the guest list was crazy. Oprah, Beyonce, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm just Tyler, obviously, but it's like,
you can pull it?
nah, it's not that I didn't think so. I'm just like, all on the same day, they all gonna come. Like, I'm talking about everybody came. Yeah. Everybody came. It was like, you talk about like, I'm never starstruck, but seeing everybody there was just wild. Yeah. Like literally bumping into Oprah and like Drake and like, it was crazy. But just, he's such a visionary. And I've worked for 2 billionaires in my life, him and Sean Parker, and both of them, the way they think is so next level. Like I'm thinking about like our social content for the week, and they're thinking about 2 years, the movie that's going to come out. And I'm just like, I didn't understand how to even like, how do you forecast that action movies will be down by 20% in 2 years? So you're going to put out an action movie, like, and so I think it's just vision, and then like understanding that even though everybody else can't see it, you have to be able to see it, and then put the tools in place to build something that, you know, has never been done.
If you were no longer able to communicate with people and you could only leave them either 3 songs or 3 books, what would they be?
I don't read books. So
you do audiobooks?
No.
Where do you get your depth of knowledge from?
I experience things in real life.
Okay.
My friends, my mentors, like, read this book. I'm like, I'm not reading the book. I just don't want to. But
my kids are here. Please
I watch
don't say
podcasts.
that. No, I'm just messing with
like,
you.
I'm a podcast person. I'm a like, I like when people storytell, and I learn from their experience. But just like, I was never that student. I'm not that student. And I know that about myself at least.
Yeah.
So
are you more of a like, I sit at the feet of elders kind of person? Like,
yeah, I'm a try it yourself and fail. Like, I am not afraid to fail. I fail every day, like seriously, all the time. So I'm gonna fail first and then like make adjustments. But then also like podcasts, like I said, I listen to certain interviews and stuff. So I think that helps me. I mean, I'll take tips and stuff. Like me and my friends send like little tweets and like threads and stuff. I'll do that a lot. But just reading a book just sounds very taxing and draining.
What? So give me 3 songs then.
So I have 3 songs that what? Make sure I get the right songs.
If to share like Corey's perspective on life,
okay,
or business, like what 3 songs would you leave someone? Yeah, like, okay, I understand him if I've never been able to meet him or speak with him.
The first song is "Win" by a guy named I think it's Jay something, but it's like win. Yeah, that song. It's like an old song, but I listen to that all the time. Like, it just say win. Like, I don't care. Ain't nobody stopping me. I'm gonna win. Yeah. I listen to that song every day because I'm like, it's no way I can lose. Like, that's just how I actually feel. Because even when I lose, I'm just learning so I can just fix it. Yeah. That song, I would say, "Dependable God" by what is his name? I don't know, but it's a song called "Dependable God," and the words are like, "No matter what comes in my way, you are still good." And it just talks about like, no matter what's going on in life, you are dependable, and I trust you, essentially. And then the song "Gyra" by Chandler Moore and why can't I think of his group's name? His group's name because it just talks about through any circumstance, God is still good, essentially. So like, those are 3 songs. And now what? Throw in "Nuck If You Buck," because if somebody like try you gotta really be on that.
That is the one.
It's a balance. Like, it's not all just like, but I think like I have so many different personalities. I'll start with like the win, go to gospel, and I'm like playing some very hood music by 3:00. Especially living in Atlanta, you kind of gotta. Just levels to it. So, yeah, those are the songs I would leave.
If you, I like that. That's a good one. If you had to go back to Howard, teach a class on failure,
oof, Jesus,
to an HBCU student, like, what would be the 2 or 3 things that you would teach? Like, this has to be included in your curriculum.
I know for me, like, what I do with my students is I make them try it and put it out there. Don't try it privately, try it publicly. That's like one thing that you have to do. Because when you try it privately, you don't allow anybody to like give feedback or see it, or like, it's almost like you don't give your all because nobody will see it. So trying things publicly, whether it's start a business, whether it's post that post, whatever it might be, try to make that connection. That's one thing. I would teach confidence. I think that most people's businesses just fail because they just don't have confidence. Like you're putting out a product that you don't even believe in, that you don't even think can sell. And so of course it doesn't, because you're not even showing that you believe in it. And then consistency. I think the reason why Support Black Colleges can do what it does today is because when no one else was posting during the pandemic, I was posting 4 times a day. And I did that for years. I saw it through. And so people were like, oh, y'all came up overnight. Like, nah, if you look back at our posts, we've been posting since 2018. But people just, they only see like the last post. But like all that information and that data I got from posting all those times got me to this point. So consistency, trying things publicly, and then confidence for sure.
All right, my last question for you. There's ROI, return on investment, and then there's ROS, return on sacrifice. How do you feel you are a return on your ancestors' sacrifices?
As far as, maybe ask me that question in a different way, because I think I understand what you're saying. But ask it to me again, and I
ain't got no other way, man. You better answer. No, I'm just messing with you. I mean, legacy, right? I think you have built what you have been building is a form of legacy in every aspect. It's HBCU legacy, it's Black legacy, it's your family that came before you that sacrificed so that you could do what you do.
100%.
Right? And so based off of knowing that, right, whatever we know about our families and the sacrifices, how do you feel like you're honoring their sacrifices with the work that you do today?
I think I'm doing it. I think they're extremely proud. So the reason why I did, or I'm doing what I do, is so that they can have their freedom of time. So like my family doesn't have to pay bills. Like they live in my house. So my mom was able to write her book that she's been trying to write for 30 years. She launched that. It was great. Did really well. And now she's mentoring women. That's what she always wanted to do. My sister's an actress. So anybody who's in that world knows that some days you book, some days you're not. And especially with the strike going on, like thank God that she can stay with me. My grandma's retired. She just wants to just eat breakfast at 7 p.m. and watch her shows. So like that enough is enough for me. I don't need nothing else. That's good enough for me. But I think that for me, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do in a long lineage of people who already done it. So Damon John had FUBU. Back in the day, there was Cross Colors. There was AACA. The people who came before me, and there'll be people who come after me. I am just doing my part in this phase of the time that I'm doing it in. And I think that I'm making the people proud that are supposed to be proud while I'm doing it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Corey, for your time.
Thank you.
And visiting us at the So Ambitious podcast.
Of course.
Heineken is proud to support Black ambition in helping to unlock opportunities for its participating founders.